Thank you for giving me the opportunity to discuss today the Philippine experience in moving towards a resilient and sustainable economy post-pandemic. 2020 has been excruciatingly difficult. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the Philippine government quickly took stock of the situation and responded with everything we had. Next slide, please. Our priorities are clear: to save lives and protect our communities. We immediately put together a four-pillar socio-economic strategy that aims to provide emergency support for our vulnerable groups and individuals, strengthen our health sector, ensure the safety of our frontliners, and implement fiscal and monetary actions to finance emergency initiatives and keep our economy afloat. However, these measures, as expected, have taken a toll on our economy. Next slide. It's fortunate that when the pandemic hit, we were financially ready. We had sufficient fiscal headroom to finance and ramp up public spending due to our prudent fiscal management. Since 2016, we had been pushing for game-changing reforms to strengthen our country's fiscal and economic position. The enactment of the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion in 2017 simplified our tax system, increase our revenues, and reduce personal income taxes for 99% of our taxpayers. We are also the only administration in the country's history that has increased sin taxes thrice within one presidential term. With better tax administration and robust revenue flows, our tax effort reached 16.1% of GDP in 2019, the highest in 22 years. In 2020, we managed to collect revenues amounting to $59.2 billion despite the challenging circumstances. This is just 0.4% lower from our total collection outlook for the year. Next slide, please. Likewise, our credit ratings have endured a global tide of downgrades and remained at historic highs. In fact, the Japan Credit Rating Agency upgraded us from BBB+ to A- in June 2020 at the heat of the pandemic. Just recently, Fitch Ratings kept the Philippines investment grade credit rating of BBB with a stable outlook. With our strong creditworthiness, we were able to quickly access emergency loans from our development partners and the commercial markets at very low rates, tight spreads, and longer repayment periods. As of January 11, 2021, a total of $14.26 billion in budget support and project financing has been secured to strengthen our COVID response efforts. Next slide, please. We have achieved another milestone with Congress passing the CREATE bill late last year, even amidst a very difficult time. This is the largest stimulus package for private enterprises in our country's history. CREATE provides an outright 10 percentage points cut from 30% to 20% in corporate income tax rates of domestic corporations with a net taxable income of 5 million pesos or around $104,000 and below. This also expands the role of our Fiscal Incentives Review Board to oversee the grant of incentives and ensure that they are performance-based, time-bound, targeted, and transparent. Another proposed bill called the Financial Institution Strategic Transfer Bill has been ratified already by both chambers of Congress and is awaiting presidential approval. This bill will enable our banks to offload their soaring loans and assets through asset management companies so that they could extend fresh credit to businesses in need of assistance during this very difficult time. In addition, the timely enactment of the government's $93.7 billion 2021 national budget will provide sufficient resources to ensure the recovery of our economy. The recent passage of the majority of our key economic reforms is crucial in our bounce back plan in order for us to emerge stronger after this crisis. Next slide, please. If you recall, 2020 started with the eruption of the Taal volcano, which wreaked havoc in many communities south of the national capital. Soon thereafter, we encountered a series of powerful typhoons in quick succession. This caused massive damage to many parts of our country, claiming dozens of lives and damaging properties and livelihood. Our recent experiences highlight the urgent need to quickly and decisively act on this climate emergency. Every year, we are losing billions due to the destruction caused to agriculture, livelihood, and infrastructure, among others. Although we are among the countries with the lowest carbon emissions, our country has been highly vulnerable to the disastrous effects of climate change, particularly typhoons. The enormous costs inflicted by these severe weather events hampered the country's overall economic recovery. Next slide. Hence, the Philippines constantly aspires to achieve the perfect balance between the need for sustainable climate action and the pursuit of economic progress. Over the past years, the Philippine government rolled out numerous initiatives for climate change adaptation and mitigation, disaster risk reduction, and sustainable development. Some of our ongoing initiatives include the National Climate Change Action Plan, the Philippine Catastrophic Risk Model, the Framework Strategy on Climate Change, and the National Asset Registry System. We also have the People Survival Fund, which is basically a fund that provides money to local government units for their programs and projects on climate change adaptation. We'd also like to thank Japan. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank Japan for quickly disbursing another disaster response loan amounting to 10 billion yen earlier this month to assist families and areas affected by recent typhoons that hit our country before 2020 ended. Next slide, please. As the new economy emerges from the pandemic, we aim to mobilize investments in renewable energy, sustainable urban planning, and climate-smart agriculture. The moratorium on endorsements for greenfield coal power plants and the opening up of the geothermal sector to greater foreign investments are a confirmation of the government's strong resolve towards sustainable development. The Philippines commits to put in place a science-based climate risk management system that will underpin our country's socio-economic plans and programs. We are also committed to deploying financial tools to build resiliency from household to the national level. Next slide, please. Even as we transition to more sustainable economic activities, the Philippines will sustain calls for broader international climate justice. Protecting communities in climate-vulnerable countries like the Philippines must become a global effort. Rest assured of our country's commitment to join the family of nations in a collaborative effort to address this climate emergency. We must work hand in hand as we aim towards a resilient and sustainable recovery post-pandemic in order to provide the best possible future for our people. Thank you.